Hello, my name is Colette. This is my dragon. Welcome to my lair. My lair is hot as balls right now. This heat wave that we're having in Northern California is crazy, and I live in a 120-year-old house with no AC, no ceiling fans, hardly any windows. I'm gonna adjust my leg real quick. I'm sweating like a pig, but that saying doesn't even make sense because pigs don't sweat. Like, I'm pretty positive that pigs literally don't sweat, and that's why their meat is like worse for you than like beef and chicken, because they don't sweat out the toxins in their body. So sweating like a pig makes no sense if that is the case, but I'm pretty sure it is the case. Anyways, I'm sweating. I feel exposed. I'm in a tank top. I don't know why that feels so exposing, but it does. For this channel, I feel like I've pretty much only ever worn a hoodie. But we're here. I'm going to do some little rapid fire life updates because I feel like it. And then I do have something I want to talk about today. First off, I really like making videos. And I feel like that feels silly, but I really like making these videos, and it's literally just me yapping. So thank you for everyone who enjoys them, genuinely, because I enjoy making them. Did you hear my ankle crack just then? Sad news, friends. Sad news. It is a sad day this day. Well, it was a sad day yesterday. I broke my favorite sunglasses. And this always happens to me. Not to be a victim, not to have a victim mindset, but I am very careless with my sunglasses, which makes no sense because I love sunglasses and I wear them all the time. I wear them indoors because lights are just so intense for me, and they're just such a nice little safety net. And I lost my absolute favorite pair of sunglasses that I've maybe ever owned like a month and a half ago, and then the ones that just broke were kind of like the semi-replacement pair. They were like the next best thing that I could find that had like a similar vibe. Still weren't the same. And they freaking broke. I might have, maybe they were like on the floor and I stepped on them. Maybe they got crushed in my bag, but I took them out of my bag yesterday and they were broken. And I'm so sad. Thankfully, I pretty much thrift all my sunglasses, so they're all like $2. Which is maybe why I don't think about taking care of them that much, because they're cheap. So maybe if I bought like nicer glasses, I'd think about it, but then I don't want to buy nicer glasses because I break them and lose them all the time. Anyways, that's an update. Can you see this? Yeah, you can. Okay. I'm working on a painting, update number 2, that I'm very excited about, and it's going way better than I thought it would, because I've painted pretty regularly over the course of my life, but regular means like a couple times a year. And then I go through spurts where I paint like more frequently, and then I don't, and then a couple months on, couple months off, like all my hobbies. But yeah, I'm very excited about this one. I had a very clear idea of the color palette and of the pose, and stylistically I thought it was going to end up being a lot more abstract, like the way I pictured it in my head. But I'm using myself as a photo reference because I kind of have to. I can't just paint straight from my head, and so it's turning out a little more exact than I initially thought, but I'm really liking the way it's turning out, and I'm very excited to keep working on it. But it's going to take me a while because I don't have time to work on it that often. And when I paint, I need like a solid 2 or 3 hour time slot to just get into the flow state, because it starts with creating the palette, mixing your palette, or like refreshing your palette if it's dried out. I use oils, but it's so hot up here where I paint and like chill that the oils paints are just like, they're just drying like right away. Also, I feel like I'm talking really loud today. So sorry if it's not as relaxing as normal. I'm going to try to slow down a little bit. I took like a a nap from like 8 to 8:30 unintentionally, but it was perfect, and I'm like so energized right now. Hold on. There we go. The fan was a little too loud, so I turned my headphones down. Okay, well, I've been thinking about what sort of things I want to talk about, and I thought it would be interesting to talk about creating, I don't want to say an understimulating life, but almost like building a de-stimulating life, or like de-stimulating your life. I don't know if that's a proper term, but like, you know, everyone talks about like we are so stimulated, there's always music playing, obviously, duh, that dang phone, and, you know, depending on the kind of like life you lead at work, what kind of work environment you have, like there's just a lot of stimulation. We've got movies, we've got TV shows, content, and things that are, you know, given to us are becoming shorter and shorter and quicker, and I feel like I've always been pretty intentional about what sort of stimuli I experience in a day, at least the stuff that's in my control. To no one's surprise, I did get diagnosed with autism in 2023, so it makes sense that I'm like hypersensitive to the sort of stimulus that I experience on a day-to-day basis. But even before being diagnosed, and especially since, but even outside of that, I think I would still just be someone who's just more intentional with that naturally, because I'm just very sensitive to the things that I hear and see and consume and experience on a day-to-day basis. So I don't know, I have some little things that I've noticed that I do every day, and this isn't a get off your phone video, okay? That is not my advice. Just get off your phone, stop going on your phone. Obviously, would that help you? Yes, but that piece of advice alone is like so vapid and like not helpful. I mean, maybe somebody to themselves one day was like, I just need to get off my phone, and then they got off their phone. But it's like, I think there's layers to it, and I don't think that using your phone in and of itself is bad. Social media in and of itself is not bad, obviously. Anyways, so this isn't one of those like, oh my god, you just need to like get off your phone, just like put the phone away and like everything's gonna be different. Is that true? Yes, but we're not gonna be talking about that. We're gonna be talking about it a little bit, but there are some little things that I do every day that really help me, and it's not, in my opinion and in my experience, and I guess I'm the expert and would have a say on this, I don't think it's really related to my autism. That I could make a separate video about, of like how I manage stimulus that's outside of my control because of my neurodivergence, and the tips and tricks that I have to kind of manage day-to-day life because I can't control how loud or how intense or whatever just going about life is as an adult. That's not quite this. This is more like how I structure the things that are in my control to create a peaceful mind, a peaceful internal world. And I feel like I'm pretty good at this. Like, I feel like I've gotten into a good rhythm of what works for me and what helps, what's the word I'm thinking? Cultivate a pretty steady internal world in my daily life and a peaceful mind in my daily life. And obviously there's always factors that come in and, you know, create different days. We all have bad days and good days and different times that are more strenuous or it's louder up here. But these are the things that, even if I'm having an up or down day, it helps me stay at kind of a nice baseline, and just create more peaceful world up here, and slow down a little bit. I'm still forgetful as fuck. I still have the attention span of a goldfish, but these things help. Okay, we're gonna stop. Enough with the preamble. So my number one thing that, again, I could and might actually make an entire video on this. I'm not going to get into the details. The first thing for me is silence daily, which kind of requires being comfortable in your own mind and comfortable in your own company. And for some people, that's not a problem. For some people, that's like, just like sitting and existing alone in a moment in silence for a prolonged period of time. I'm talking like 30 minutes at least. Would be really hard for some people. For some people, it wouldn't. It's something that I've put a lot of practice into because I've noticed how much of a difference it makes in my brain and my soul on a mental and logistical and just like mental clarity level. And also it really helps me sit with, the other stuff I got going on. It's also a space where I can daydream and get inspired and have ideas and whatever. Lots of benefits. But yeah, that kind of requires being comfortable just in your own mind, talking to yourself, letting, watching your thoughts and images in your head go by like a article or a movie, and just like sitting back and kind of letting it happen to a degree. And I could talk more about that, but not today. But yeah, silence daily is something that is incredibly important to me, and it looks different every day based on what my schedule looks like, what my capacity's at. I don't listen to anything in the mornings, no podcasts. I don't go on my phones on the morning. Oh my God, I don't go on my phone in the morning, but I can't brag about that. Like, it's like, oh, I worked really hard to like get this I personally have no desire to go on my phone in the morning because it's such intense, immediate, like visual stimulus. Your phone, even on the lowest setting, it's just bright. Usually you're like flitting. It doesn't appeal to me in the morning to go on my phone. Sometimes I'll like check if I have any texts, but even if I do, I don't reply to any texts. I just don't want to go on my phone, so I can't like boast about like, don't go on your phone on the, like, I know it's like hard for a lot of people, and it's like the instantaneous desire. But I don't like going on my phone, and it really helps me not go on my phone in the morning. But I don't have any tips on how to like not do that if you do that. Because that's just never really been my habit. So I don't go on my phone right when I wake up, and I don't listen to any music. I don't listen to podcasts. I need that silence in the morning. I cook breakfast in silence if I get up in time to make breakfast. And then maybe about like 45 minutes after I'm awake, then I might, like after I've eaten, if I'm like brushing my teeth or getting ready for the day, then I might put on some music. But it's usually going to be instrumental. It's usually going to be really chill. Maybe like a Lana Del Rey, like Ultraviolence album, or like Norman fucking Rockwell album moment, but nothing really, usually no lyrics. Like I just need that time in the morning to not have any input. It's almost like, I don't know, getting rid of like, what am I trying to say? Like draining something out before you put more stuff in. So in the morning, I'm just like, I need that silence. I need that time, or that calm instrumental input, so that I have that time to like let whatever's jumbled up in here like settle and drain out of my system before I start my day. And I've just noticed that makes a huge difference going into work, or going and hanging out with people, or if it's a weekend, like adjusting. Yeah, I do my weekends a little bit differently because, I'm not working, but yeah, that's big. So like silence daily. If I can't do it in the mornings, maybe I won't listen to anything at my lunch break, or if I come home and I cook dinner, I'll do it in silence. Just like I try really hard to incorporate one moment of silence into my day every day. Could be in the morning, and it's usually at least 30 minutes. And sometimes I just be sitting and staring. I'll just sit and I'll stare, and it's amazing. I love sit and stare time. Highly recommend. And then, honestly, there's not much else except for, like, I'm really trying to work on, I guess this is where I'm like, I do actually need to work on this. It's like my analog hobbies, because a lot of my hobbies and things that I like to do are still digital, and digital doesn't have to mean overstimulating, but it does, like, have a different, I don't know, it just, like, affects my brain differently. And also I just feel like looking at a screen for hours, even if you're doing something creative or productive, I don't know, it just feels different, and it's still extremely valuable. And I love my digital hobbies. I like to make music on my laptop. I like to write, and I will usually start writing creatively handwritten, but then I'll eventually transfer it to digital. I love to watch YouTube. I love to make videos, obviously not just these, but I do make, like, vlogs from time to time, or work on films, short films, or just throw together little videos that I want to make. Some of them I just never put out. But I have, it's a lot of still digital stuff. And so I really want to expand on my analog hobbies, because I feel like it's a different kind of stimulation. And when and the kind of hobbies that I want to add on to my hobby load aren't so much about, like, building a skill set as much as just having another way to decompress that's not digital, or another way to creatively express myself that's not digital. Like, obviously I have painting, I have reading. I'm trying to get back into reading regularly. I'm not great at it. And I don't sketch a lot. Like, I don't love drawing. I like drawing, but I don't love drawing. But I want to get better at just, like, taking a small sketchbook with me and just sketching something, because I normally only do art if I have a very specific project in my mind. I'm not really just, like, sitting and sketching very often. So I want to, like, incorporate that more. I play the guitar, but only a little bit. But I think when I'm talking about analog hobbies, it's more like, I don't know, like getting a Sudoku book and just, like, spending some time on, like, Sudoku, or, like, learning how to solve a Rubik's Cube. Actually, I think I would actually hate that. I think I would hate a Rubik's Cube. So I take that back. I don't know what else. I think making zines sounds really cool, but that's also very extensive and requires a lot of, like, space, like a big desk. For me, at least, I don't like feeling crowded when I'm doing crafty stuff. So I don't know if I'll really make any zines. And you have to, like, zines print, I don't know, there's different ways to do them. You can kind of do it however you want, but that also feels kind of like this overwhelming big project. And I kind of am wanting to just find more, like, quick, simple analog things to just do, not even daily, but I think you know what I'm saying. I think you get what I'm saying, but I don't feel like I'm wording it well, so I'm just going on and on and on. But if you have any things like that you like to do, like Sudoku, or, like, I don't know, crossword puzzles. I've never really liked crossword puzzles, but, like, or even, like, learning, like, card games, like one, like, solitaire. I should, like, relearn solitaire. You know, that sort of thing. I am wanting to incorporate more of that, because I just feel like it helps you slow your brain down. And I think that that's something that I have become really in tune with myself when I just feel like I'm buzzing, when you've just been talking to people and doing things and listening to music and watching stuff, and then you're scrolling on your phone, and then you're doing this and you're doing that, and you're working on this project and you're working on this project, like, and then it's just like a buzz constantly. And I don't like that. That makes me freak the fuck out after, like, 2 days of that. So I think honestly probably silence is the biggest one, because even if you're like, sometimes I cannot explain the euphoria of painting in silence sometimes. Not all the time. Music is amazing. Music can enhance. We've talked about this. Whatever. I love music. I love listening to music. I have music or ASMR on most of the day, but taking specific time to not have anything on is also amazing. And like getting into a flow state with a painting with no music, oh my gosh. It's just like, it's like literally nothing else exists, and it's amazing. I guess that's kind of it. That's actually not as extensive as I thought it was, and maybe it really was. Maybe you really could just boil that down to just like getting off your phone. But I don't know. The intention of like, I just need to get off my phone doesn't really help, because then it just makes me think about my phone. But I like scrolling on Instagram reels and laughing my ass off and seeing what my friends are up to and sending funny reels to my friends, and also sometimes keeping up with the news and fact checking shit. Just whatever you see, just make sure you're fact checking it. I'm pretty comfortable with that. My screen time is more than I'd like it to be. But if I go about like, oh, I want to get off my phone, I'm just gonna like hyperfixate on every time I'm on my phone and then feel shitty about myself. But instead I'm like, oh, I like the feeling in my mind of having a day that's less stimulating. How can I incorporate more things into my day-to-day life, or like put more books in my bag, so to speak, to foster and continue to foster a peaceful mind on a day-to-day life. Like, that is going to work for me. Telling myself to get off my phone and then feeling shitty every time I like look at my screen time at the end of the week is not going to help me personally. Yeah. And then there is also a whole nother subsection of how I manage my neurodivergence and how I manage my sensory sensitivity and masking, and just honestly just what that process has been like for me, because I did get diagnosed as a 23-year-old and I'm about to turn 26. And it's been very interesting to have that come up later in life. And I feel like every week I'm like looking back at a different period of my life or a different experience that I had as a younger child or young adult or teen, and being like, oh, okay, that's probably part of why I was experiencing this thing this way. And then also recognizing in my day-to-day life and in the things that I'm doing now as an adult, a diagnosed adult, being like, oh, okay, this is what I need in this environment, or this is what I need to be able to sustain this sort of thing. But that feels different to me, because that's like, how do I manage the stuff that's out of my control? And this is about, how can I manage the things that are in my control, the stimulation that is in my control. Yeah, I think that's everything. I hope you enjoyed. I have been doing my morning thing, but we're gonna give it a couple more weeks before I really update y'all. Yeah, I hope your week is going well. I really enjoy making these. I'm glad you enjoy them too. I'm gonna shut up now. Okay, love you, bye.